Welcome back to Interstate Electronic, everybody. We're going to be talking about the importance of the visuals now, which I think complements the last seminar.
No, the impact.
Yeah, or the impact of visuals, sorry, yeah. And the importance, I guess, if you like. We are here with Aphex Twin's, obviously visual artist as well. He's obviously a bit of a legend in his own right. Please welcome Weirdcore. Obviously, we'll speak about Leeds a little bit first because you used to come here quite a lot and you were kind of a resident of the orbit, weren't you? Went there quite a lot.
So I lived there between 95 and 96 and I was having so much fun. Oh my God, it was so good. Because I used to live in Bournemouth before that, because that's where I'm from, and we used to start clubbing up in London and then we went more up north and came to Leeds to some Mega Dogs and we thought, oh, that's amazing. And then I went to the Orbit and that just changed my life. That was so good. I just had to move here. And funny enough, we've got Sean here who used to kind of run the Orbit, and I got the joy to work with him last year because he now tour manage and stuff. So when we were in America with Aphex, he was tour managing that gig basically. So that was good. But yeah, so the Orbit, oh my God, when I think back at my raving days, that is numero uno kind of thing.
Oh, amazing. That's good, isn't it?
Really good.
Obviously, you kind of shot to fame with the MIA visual, is that right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to show us a little bit there as well?
Yeah, sure.
And what were those early days like when you were creating this sort of visual?
Well, that wasn't quite my early day. That was when I kind of got a bit more established, I guess. That show? Yeah. So the thing with Maya is that you kind of had to be creative, and the kind of ethos with that was to just be able to do something really fast. Because Maya is very last minute. It's so last minute that everything needed to be done yesterday, kind of last minute, right? So, and she'd just send me these random clips. She'd be like, okay, just use this. And I'm like, well, what can I do with that? You know, it's the camera's moving, you can't keep. So you kind of have to be creative with what you can do with it. So I tried to key out the background because she was like, oh yeah, can you cut them out and put them on something else? But then I thought, oh, just by using how bad the key is and kind of making a point of that, that's how this looks the way it does, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of being kind of creative with what you do, really, with her, and then just be as bold as possible, I guess.
Yeah. And tell us about the story how you met Aphex Twin as well, going into that one.
How I met Aphex?
Because I know it's a bit of a funny story, right?
Yeah. What was it? So I met him at. I'll put something on whilst I'll talk about it. So I kind of met him and at a club called Dog Star in Brixton, and I was with my girlfriend, and she used to make music at the time, and I used to do the designs for her kind of thing. And we sent him the CD because he said, I'll send it to so-and-so at Warp, and I think that was a code name to actually send it to him kind of thing. And he actually responded, and we were totally buzzing. I mean, we were buzzing already because it was the day before we went to get on a plane to go to India, so we were like, oh. And it came, and it was back in the day when we were even just checking emails in Easy Everything, and you had to check the stuff in web stuff. And the email was, he kind of responded about the tracks and stuff, but the main positive thing he said was about the artwork. He was like, oh yeah, no, but the artwork's really lush kind of thing. And it was this thing. And that was just an illustration I did of her. Yeah, quite a stylized version of her, this kind of thing. And the back was that kind of thing. But yeah, he really liked that. And I said that to him about 10 years later when I started working with him, and he totally forgot about it. He said, yeah, at least I was quite consistent. Which he is, he's very consistent with his taste. So
and he gives you completely free rein, doesn't he?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Well, I kind of figured out what he likes.
Yeah.
So I'm really good at kind of figuring out what the limitations are and the possibilities. I would do that with every project. But with him, I figured that out relatively quickly by sending him loads of examples and links and all that. And once I figured out his taste, which is quite similar to mine, he just lets me get on with stuff. I mean, the main difference with other artists is that other artists that I work quite closely with, they'll have their opinions and they'll be quite kind of pushy. Like MIA, she knows what she wants, where he just lets me get on with. And also, I can do anything in terms of no one will complain to him.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like when I lived there, I had a friend who used to put on these nights in Bradford and Sheffield and stuff, and he was really excited because he booked Aphex. And then I saw him a few weeks later and he was like, oh, that was terrible. He just literally played I Care Because You Do album without changing it at all. So he was like quite taking the piss, because you can, because no one will complain. And I knew that, so I was like, I can literally play anything I want.
I saw that you put like, was it a Japanese autopsy or something?
Yes, so that was one of his requests. So the story behind that one, I'll show it in Max actually. So I would play this. It was like a Japanese artist that did a documentary about this kind of guy that does embalming in one of the roughest parts of Colombia. And Richard, a few years before, got booked to play at Melt in Germany, and he didn't have a visual team or lighting or anything back then. And he told the promoter, oh, can you just get this DVD and just play it as is throughout the whole show? And then he turned up, and he was like, oh, did you get the DVD? And he was like, oh yeah. And the German guy just looked at him going, I don't think that was very appropriate, kind of thing. So when we played there 2 years later, I made sure I played it extra long. So, Anyway, enough of that.
That's pretty eye-opening, isn't it?
Sorry.
Bet you wish you'd never done that now. And talk to us about the TC Collapse video. Obviously, it's been critically acclaimed. It's obviously huge.
Sorry,
what? The TC 69, Collapse video. What was your inspiration behind that, and when you first sat down?
Well, he gave me that a year before it actually came out, and it was when we were in Japan, and it kind of really reminded me of it's actually when I lived in Leeds, when the Anglewater Auto Bubble EP came out, and it was kind of took me back to that kind of era in terms of the way it was structured and all that. So I wanted to take it back to a 90s vibe, and just kind of did that mostly, really. And then I went to Cornwall, shot some stuff, and then it just went on from there. But we kind of talked about it for ages. It was a very unbelievably unconventional method of doing it, because usually if you do a music video, you kind of get, like the label will send it to different places and everyone will pitch, and then the label people will pick it, and then blah, 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 blah. But he just gave me the tracks, and that was it for months. Like, we just talked about stuff. He wanted to have something with AI, and I just added some more ideas to it and how it made me feel. And then this was back in August when he first gave it to me, early August. And then it got to like December, and I was like, so what is going on with this? Like, you know? So I called Warp, and I was like, so what's going on? And they were like, they didn't know anything about it at all. And he just wasn't even giving them the tracks, and it got to March, and they finally approved the budget for it and everything without hearing the music at all.
Wow.
So I was like going to Warp going, yeah, I've got this bit, and the music goes a bit like this kind of thing, and they were like, yeah, okay, and they just approved it, and it was all fine. I mean, kudos to Warp, really. Like,
absolutely. And obviously you had to pass the hardiness test, didn't you? So, yeah.
Well, no, it didn't.
No, it didn't first, and then you had to redo it.
No, it just didn't. Yeah, so I've got a picture of that, because at that point we were just literally collapsing everything. So for the promo, we actually collapsed the hardening test, and it failed in several bits. It's coming up, yeah. So that's all the bit that's failed. And this was like, I was just finishing the video at that point, and like Walk called me up, oh, it failed all these bits. And then at the same time, Rich was going, oh, can we just add more intense stuff? So on one hand, I was like, who was it again? Comedy Central or something? Or I can't remember who it was. Saying, oh, can you like water it down? And I had Richard going, oh, can you make it more intense? So I just obviously went for the more intense.
Yeah.
And we just thought, yeah, fuck it. Right.
And obviously you've put all the visuals now into Printworks and the Warehouse project, which again got huge acclaim. What was it like working with those venues?
Working with those venues? I'll play a bit of that whilst it's... well, I don't really think much about what the different venues can do, to be honest. Like, other than on the technical level, Because the problem I've got is that every venue, although we have a rider and we say, oh, we want exactly those screens, every time we get a different kind of type of screen that's got different dimensions. So I spend a lot of my time adapting the stuff technically instead of thinking how it would work in those places. And in stuff, like the one in London, we had way more screens. Like that was in the audience and it came up and down.
Yeah.
And actually the one in Manchester, which was the best crowd ever, which I knew that was going to be the case, was not actually that good for the visuals, because it was quite a long room and the visuals were quite small in comparison to the size of the room. I mean, very different to the London Fields one, where it was quite big and you could see it from everywhere. I think there's quite a lot of places you couldn't really see the visuals properly in comparison to other gigs. But luckily we knew we were going to edit it and kind of redo it, so it saw a different life in a different way, so that was good.
And how do you play off the crowd reaction there?
What do you mean?
With the signs and stuff?
That's all just kind of computer vision stuff, so it's a bit like the face mapping stuff where I just analysing the footage that people are filming at the front, and it just comes to my computer, I kind of do my thing to it, and then it goes back to the screens really. I mean, the initial idea that Richard had was to have crowd visuals and maybe even have mirrors at the front, because his whole point was to reflect the attention back onto the people.
Right.
So it's like a bit like a feedback loop, and it just evolved from there. We never did mirrors because that would have been such a pain in the brain, really. So.
And you got obviously an amazing response from it, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Yeah.
And have you got anything else coming up with Aphex?
With Aphex?
Got to ask.
He's mainly working on stuff, and we're going to completely revamp the show. So that's another reason I wanted to edit this, because it might be one of the last crowd reactive visuals. So expect something completely different.
And how did you come to obviously work with Radiohead? I know it was in a smaller capacity, wasn't it? But how did you come to work with those?
They had this amazing campaign, which I think is the best way to promote an album, was to have just short bite-sized clips put onto Instagram. And they just picked me. It was that easy. They just picked a few directors, and I was one of those, and it just went from there. And the pitch, so I'll show it so that you can know what I'm talking about here. So it's that. And because it was on Instagram, it had to be less than a minute. And I was like really keen to have something that looped seamlessly. So, is there sound? Okay, so I was like, can you give? They give me a bit of music to work with, which was about 40 seconds long, and I was like, oh, can you make it loop seamlessly? And what they gave me back was 20 seconds long, because that's the best way they could get it to loop. So I just worked with that. Really.
Yeah. Oh, okay, it's come up. Did you get to meet Tom as well? No.
I just gave my ideas, and they were like, yeah, do it. Did it, and they were like, great. It was up. Done.
And I know you said you didn't have the same sort of positive reaction with the Tame Impala one. I know you didn't want to really bring it up, but what was it like working with those? You said you didn't have the best time?
Not really, no. It was a polar opposite to the Collapse video, where they didn't really have any input at all, like nothing, and it was very short amount of time. They were like, we need it done by then. Like, it was just like, well, it took them ages to decide what to do with it. And then they're like, you've got 3 weeks to do it. So I did that all in 3 weeks, and they weren't giving me any feedback. And then it took them 2 months to put it out. And then a week later, they put out another video of the same track. So it was very much, we didn't plan that.
That's good. Yeah.
So that's that video. That was very much an anticlimax. Really.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I'll put the good bit in.
That's cool, actually. Obviously, working with the Caretaker as well. We spoke about that before the session. Well, we can let this one play out if you like, or do you want to?
No.
That was at the Barbican, right?
Yes, so that's kind of the stuff I was playing early on. And he's really great fun to work with. He's a dude from around there, Stockport. I mean, it's kind of around there.
No, Manchester, innit?
Yeah,
so
Manchester,
about 50 miles away.
Like, same kind of.
Can't say Manchester around here, really.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry, crashed for some reason. But no, he's really good to work with. He's really fun. I played a gig with him in Krakow in Poland, and he came on as a boxer, and then I played a clip of Mick Hucknall doing a kind of thing, and he did a karaoke thing, and he was dressed as Mick Hucknall, and it was amazing. It was so good. So open for. But I've been doing this thing with him where he's got this series of albums, and it's all about dementia. And he's given the artist, well, the project dementia, and each album is a different progression of dementia, and I've kind of visualised it in that way, basically.
Yeah. And then more events coming up as well?
Yeah, so I'm playing with him at Rewire in Holland. So it's this kind of music, and then also Primavera.
Okay, amazing.
So it'll be good. Yeah.
Do you want to let this one play out, I think?
It's like an hour long. So
maybe not.
Okay, sure, yeah. But we could have it on whilst I'm talking nonsense.
And how was it working at Field Day then? I know you touched on it before, but what was the setup like for that? Because I know it's obviously a bit different to more of a festival space.
It was amazing, really. Yeah. It was really great for the lasers, because it was like everyone was it was a massive room, and like the lasers could go up, and there was no one on different floors and stuff. So it was really good. It was a massive anticlimax playing the gig afterwards, because we played in Ireland, a tiny little gig.
Oh, wow,
it was, we were still buzzing from that previous gig, and it was like it was so good that we just like.
Was it a different setup to the Warehouse Project one, and or was it similar sort of?
Similar setup, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And when you're doing the visuals on the what hardware and software are you using?
Yes, I'll go back to that patch. I'll make sure I won't play those clips. Well, I can if you want, maybe, but I use Max mainly, Max MSP for the visuals. For music videos, I mostly use Cinema 4D and After Effects and all that stuff. But this is like a main patch that I use, and within that there's with other things, and they've got other kind of patches that do specific things. I mean, that's just like the tip of the iceberg. That's like nothing really. But the thing I love about
not that technical then.
The thing I love about it is, I mean, I use these other things like a launch pad in order just to trigger presets. Because the thing that's really great with Max is that you can have localized presets, and that's. I mean, I've tried other things like. I've recently tried Notch, and I tried VDMX, and I tried like Quartz Composer and all that jazz. But the thing, although it's not the most powerful thing, like I use a Rolly and a Launchpad, and with that I can trigger kind of local presets, and in a morphing way. So that would be one preset, and that's sorry, you can't see it, can you? So the different colors are different presets, so I can morph between them, and I've got 3 Rolly blocks. And I could morph between them, multiple fingers. And the launch pad has got different kind of presets.
Sorry to interrupt, is that the one you did for Miley Cyrus, maybe?
Oh, what?
Is it the Miley Cyrus one? The one where she like morphs?
No, that was pre-rendered. I did it on tour with Miley Cyrus.
Oh, right, okay.
And for this one, I just had different presets and just play about with that. But yeah, so the Miley Cyrus thing, if you want to talk about that.
Just because I saw it the other day, it looked quite cool, but I thought that was quite similar.
Similar kind of effects, I guess. But yeah, that was kind of fun working on that.
And how did that gig come about? How did that gig come about?
The creative director, Diane Martel, just kind of contacted me, and it came from that. And she got my contacts from Ez Devlin, who's a really big-time kind of stage director, and I kind of worked with her before, so it went from that. But yeah, that was a really weird project to work on, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was good, yeah.
Yeah, and what was that used on a full tour or just one gig, or?
That was on the arena tour, played at the O2 and everything.
Oh, wicked. And what's next for you then? Where were you next? Where can we see your visuals next?
At Rewire for the Caretaker and Primavera, but then it seems to be a lot of the project I'm working on at the moment seems to be more art-based, like installations and stuff like that, which I haven't done much of that before. And surprisingly, I don't really think of myself as an artist. I'm more like a creative designer, let's say. But yeah, so there's a big, I'm actually going to be doing a big solo exhibition in Beijing. That was meant to be in April, but because of coronavirus, that's not going to happen until July now, kind of thing. But then, yeah, there's other things that were meant to be happening in Tokyo. Yeah. Then they moved it to Milan, and that's clearly not going to happen either. So, yeah, there's art stuff coming up. I can't really tell you when because it's shifting every day.
And anybody wanting to get into this line of work, what kind of advice would you give them moving forward?
Just keep doing your thing, really, to be honest. I think the way I work is I kind of, with every project, I kind of tend to figure out what the limitations, the possibilities are, and what the people like, and just explore within those boundaries and join the dots of what you'd like to do, really. But I think it's important to keep doing your thing.
Yeah. Obviously, speaking about Brendan Byrne as well.
Yes, yes.
Because I know you wanted to talk about that. I forgot that one before.
Yeah, so I was quite surprised that you found that one, actually. So that was the inspiration behind so this is something that actually Richard sent me when I first started working for him, because I don't really see myself as a VJ either, because it's all very much live what I do. And he just sent me, he requested a few clips to be played, and back then I didn't really have that master patch that I just showed you. I had all these different patches, and when I had to load another one, I had to just play a clip whilst that was loading. So this was one of the clips, and yeah, it's really good. And this then became one of the inspiration for the Radiohead piece. Really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just going back to obviously working in sort of different sort of venues, do you see each one differently in terms of, oh well, it's a more intimate venue, I've got to keep it at this level, or do you just have like one set of visuals for each?
Well, it depends on the projects. Mm-hmm. So with Richards, because we never know what he's going to play, ever, and sometimes he'll just say, oh yeah, I'll play that, but he doesn't play it. So like, it's more about keeping us on our toes, and I'm more focused on trying to keep up with what he's doing, really.
But does that not wind you up though? You say he's going to play this, and it's like, oh crap.
It used to annoy me, but I've got used to it.
Yeah.
So but he kind of laughs at that now, because we ask, oh, what are you going to play? And he's like, I can't believe you're still asking me.
It seems like he's great to work with though.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, it's the best, really.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Has anybody got any questions at the moment? For anybody? I'll come over to you. No worries.
Hi. I'm interested in your creative process and how you come up with your ideas, because some of them are quite out there. So does it happen kind of, do they come naturally? Do you get the equivalent of writer's block ever? Like, what's the process of coming up with, like, kind of a constant stream of...
Okay, yeah, so I find that, like I said earlier on, I don't see myself as an artist, and I just don't really get these ideas that just come into me. It's like, I think an artist would just wake up and be like, oh, I'm going to paint a blue painting or whatever kind of thing. But I'm very much a kind of designer that kind of interprets a brief very creatively. So, for example, the piece that I'm doing on that Beijing thing that I mentioned earlier on, like, They showed me some of the previous stuff that got made, and I just kind of went on from there and took it on a journey. But if they hadn't had the previous piece and they were like, oh, you can do whatever, I would have had writer's block. So I kind of, yeah, like I keep saying, I set the kind of boundaries and figure out what can be done, what can't be done, what should be done, what the artist likes, then I'll show them something. And then I find, oh, that's another thing that I did. Pre-Radiohead kind of thing. But I find there tend to be keywords that the artist says when they give feedback, and that kind of, I just go from there and it just expands and it takes on its own life, basically, really. But I find with the Tame Impala video, because they weren't giving me feedback, and I had to be done, it was very much what I said in the pitch, and it didn't really vary from that, which is why I don't really rate it as one of my best works, because it didn't really have the kind of space to breathe, let's say.
Anybody else got any questions?
First off, I want to say thanks. This is really interesting to listen to. I've got 2 questions. First one's a quick one. Are you playing tonight? If so, when and where? And second one...
Sorry.
No worries. Some other time. The second one, at the start you mentioned Orbit. I'm not actually sure what that is. Is it a club?
Oh, right, okay.
If so, I'd like to hear more about that, why it was so incredible and what influence that had on your work.
Oh, so... Yeah, well, I mean, the Orbit, how can I describe it? That was totally amazing. So, I mean, coming from the south of England, I mean, you guys probably think it's totally normal, but, like, we'd go out clubbing and then there was, back in Bournemouth or whatever, or you in London, you go out, you go with your mates and you come back and you don't really meet anyone and you know, you just go there for the music, where I came up to Leeds and, like, when the first time I went to the Orbit, like, Jeff Mills was playing, and, like, I didn't know anyone as I came in, and I came out and I felt like I met 3/4 of the club kind of thing, you know, and that would never happen in London or in the south of England. And I mean, I went elsewhere. I went to like places like Atomic Jam in Birmingham and Voodoo or the Warehouse even here kind of thing. But I thought the Orbit really encapsulated that. I think because it was the way it was laid out. It was like one room, and it was like I don't know how to describe it, but there was multiple floors in one room, and the DJ was in the middle, and it was like everyone was looking at it. It's a bit like going to church, but like in a really good way, kind of thing. But it did inspire me for some other stuff. Surprisingly, I mean, I never thought just all those hedonistic nights would, but I kind of did the visuals for. This film called Beats, that I don't know if you've seen that, and I found the visuals that they used to have at the Orbit was like these kind of, I've never seen it elsewhere. They had all these slides and it was going really fast and it would flicker between the images, and that was kind of the inspiration for these visuals. And that got used in the film. But no, it was very inspiring, and it was like the way you can just meet people. I mean, I'm sure, I've no idea what all those people are doing now. We probably talked absolute, complete nonsense. But it was really great. It was really fun. But you guys probably take that for normal here, really, because that's how it works. I mean, I find the difference between the south and the north is it's sort of, here it's, well, in London, mainly, it's more about quantity rather than quality, where here it's more about quality rather than quantity. But I say that, I've been in London for 20 years and I've only lived in Leeds for 1 year kind of thing. But yeah, it was a really good 1 year, basically.
Has anybody else got any questions? Come to me.
I had too much fun. I mean, when I think back, it was like, I feel guilty how much fun I had here kind of thing. I mean, it should be made illegal. In fact, a lot of that fun was okay.
In terms of like the future of what you see for visual effects or raving, even. I'm here. Hello.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Or you know, just for raving.
Sorry, can you start
see
again?
Do you see adding another dimension to sort of clubbing or raving? Or I know you had the AI up before. Do you see anything more in terms of like gathering data from crowd movement or inertial movement or some sort of additional, you know, fourth dimension that you could add to the raving scene in terms of like visuals or something similar in the future? Also, what do you see for the future for what you do?
I think it would probably evolve into something that you can have virtual clubs. I mean, it's a bit like, I don't know if you saw, there was a TV program in the 80s, 90s that was called Wild Palms, directed by Oliver Stone, and you basically, it was a bit like VR, I guess, but people would take on this drug and they put this VR thing on, and then it felt like they could touch stuff through the drug. But I think that kind of thing will happen soon. So like VR's not really kicked off, but I think in maybe 10, 20 years there'll be a thing where you can just club from wherever you are. And I think if this virus thing happened more like it does, people will be stuck at home, so they'll have to go clubbing virtually anyway, so it's all right. But can you start the beginning of the question again? Because I missed that bit.
It's just sort of, you know, adding another dimension to raving. I know that you've got visuals, you've got you know, you've got your sound, your visuals. Is there something else that you might be able to incorporate into the clubbing scene? Because, you know, you as a leader in your field, you'd be the person to set the trend.
I think what would be great is if once you can do kind of holographic kind of visuals, a bit like those kind of communications that they do in Star Wars, and they have like a visuals pop up in the middle of the room, that'd be amazing. I mean, you'd probably need some glasses now, but like the day they can do that, that would be really good. And you know, if they can do it in a way with AI so that they can track the way people, the direction that people are looking, and have the visuals, you know, it'd be customized to each person somehow. I don't know how they do that, but that'd be pretty sick, I reckon.
How do you do that?
What?
You do that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Sorry, who's talking here?
Got one more question.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wondered what the learning curve was like for making these.
Oh, yeah.
I just wondered how hard it was to make them, what the learning curve was like, and was there a point where you felt like you'd finished, well, not finished, but you're really proud of what you were making, or you thought it was good?
I found, well, it depends on, there's different works that I've done over the years. So I used to do web design, and I did one website for that Ez Devlin stage director that I mentioned earlier, and it was so good. Like she had it on for like 15, nearly 20 years, and like once I did that, I was like, yeah, I can die without doing a better website. I don't really care. So I kind of moved on to doing more like videos and all that. But I find, I think I'm not really that interested in doing visuals for other kind of electronic artists, because I'm doing it for Aphex, and it doesn't really get better than that in terms creatively and financially for that kind of scene. And I'm more interested in trying different things, which is why I'm doing some more art installation stuff, and I'd like to do more pop stuff and pop for pop acts, basically, because I think there's quite a lot of. I mean, I was quite pleased with what I did for Miley Cyrus and Gwen Stefani and all that stuff, but I think I could do something a lot better. So I'd like to explore that more. But I do find that once I've reached a certain pinnacle for a certain scene, I tend to move on to something else, really, because I find unlike before the digital era, if you wanted to do a certain kind of work, you had to have certain hardware to do that kind of stuff and learn that trade. But I find with everyone's got laptops, anything design-wise, you can jump from one thing to the other. So, you can jump onto a different scene. And I find, when I get bored of something, or I feel like I've done something that I'm fine with, I'll just move on to something else. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
We do actually have to wrap it up for this session because we've got another one to come. So can we all give it up for Weirdcore?